Greetings, and welcome to A Year of Movies, a Planet Geek production. For this project, we are using the Ivan Walters reference book of 365 films to watch on the day they happened. Each day, we watch a movie associated with the date we are watching it on. And as it is the 10th of July, we are going to be watching The Green Mile from 1999, directed by Frank Darabont and starring Tom Hanks. So admittedly, I have to say that unfortunately I did not get to see this movie when it came out in theaters. Of course, at the time I was definitely well aware of the movie coming out and everything involved with it. Not only the fact that it was a Stephen King story, Tom Hanks had a story as well, but just stuff came, I don't even know the circumstances of what had stopped me from seeing it, but I did not actually get to see this movie until it came out on home video. That being said, like I had already mentioned, not only does this movie star Tom Hanks, but it also stars Michael Clarke Duncan, Bonnie Hunt, David Morse, Doug Hutchinson, Sam Rockwell, and James Cromwell. Paul Edgecombe, played by Tom Hanks, the head guard of death row, just wants a life for him, his colleagues, and the condemned to be nice and easy. However, when John Coffey, played by Michael Clarke Duncan, a massive man convicted of brutally killing a pair of young sisters, arrives, things start to get strange. Beyond the simple, naive nature of a deathly fear of dark, Coffey seems to possess a prodigious supernatural gift. Paul begins to question whether Coffey was truly guilty of murdering the two girls. When one goes into making a theatrical interpretation of a Stephen King story, you either want to have like a Carrie or a Misery or The Green Mile as your result. This is a perfect execution of a story that, while everything from the page doesn't show up on the screen, what does is a beautiful tribute to a hauntingly, wonderfully written story. When you bring in an acting cast that is of such high standards as the one that we get in this movie, you are inundated with a fabulous performance and an execution so precisely done that it is a treat to watch. You feel for every single character, whether that is a negative or a positive feeling, which is also perfect for it. The characters that you want to where you feel empathy for are perfectly structured. Those that you have hatred for are so incredibly pulled from the gut of humanity that it's almost impossible to realize how well done these actors pull off these roles. For example, the dual roles of Doug Hutchinson and Sam Rockwell are just like, when those two characters interact, you feel, the best part about it is that you feel sympathy for Percy, who is Doug Hutchinson, when Wild Bill, who is Sam Rockwell, attacks him technically. And it's just like, but then for Hutchison to turn the embarrassment that his character experiences into a darker, more angrier version of his very small character, which is also something that is fantastic about this movie, is filled with very tall actors. So when we have a smaller character, they are diminutive in comparison, especially when you increase the size of an already tall Michael Clarke Duncan to be like towering over actors such as James Cromwell is just a wonderful sight to be seen. And the movie has one of the most horrific deaths portrayed on screen in a legitimate non-horror film. Now, this movie does have elements of horror to it. It has elements of thriller as well, but it's mostly a fantastic drama. But the execution of Michael Jester's character, Edward Delacroix, when what happens to him during an electrical chair execution, which is what happens throughout this movie, is just a horrific scene to witness. And the way that you also have everyone around the situation, like it's a live execution, it's part of the process. Those who were wronged by the convicted are there to witness their death. And when it goes horribly wrong and everyone like almost sort of falls apart and realizes is we got to keep going. It's something that as soon as I start watching this movie upon a repeat, I'm like, oh, right, I got to sit through that again. But again, not overly graphic. It's just so beautifully executed. And when we see the first execution of one of the prisoners, a bitterbuck played by Graham Greene, we are witness to the process of what happens. And his execution comes on July 10th, 1935, which is about 41 minutes into this 3-hour and 9-minute movie. And when it came to the Academy Awards for that particular season, it actually ended up getting nominations for Best Supporting Actor for Michael Clarke Duncan, Best Picture, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Adapted Screenplay. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this particular episode and look off in the future to see what we're going to be watching for tomorrow, which is the 11th of July, and that is going to be Chariots of Fire from 1981. So until next time,